Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of The Venue Coach. Today I'm going to talk about tours, and particularly the four key things that I look for in a tour when I'm reviewing them to give feedback on and how I judge a successful tour. And so the first one is number one, rapport building. So that's the first thing that you do. You are out front, you're waiting for them to show up, you know what time they're going to be there, and you're there waiting for them. You greet them by name, and then you start asking them things like how they got engaged, how they met, how long they've been engaged, anything like that. And then you start tying it into why they're there, right? So what are you guys looking for? Color schemes, like all sorts of just whatever, right? So you start just getting to know them, right? And so they need to like you. That's number one. So that one's important. It's not like the most important. I'll get to the most important. But number two is building value, and this one is very important. And when I say building value, what I see a lot of is managers and owners that are just giving the laundry list of the amenities, meaning we provide the tables, we do the cleanup, we do the linens, we do this, we do that, we do this. And it's just, you're just listing out things, right? And so the big thing that couples care about, especially in 2025, they care about the experience. They care about how they're going to feel, how you're going to make them feel. Because no matter what, you're always making people feel something, right? So every communication piece, everything that you do leading up to the tour needs to all be congruent. And so how you talk to them in the text, how you respond, how quickly you respond, everything like that, that's all building value. So it's like subtext, right? You're building value before they even come in the door. And the main goal of number two is to continue to build value. You need to, of course, talk about the amenities and everything that they get with what they're paying, right? They're going to ask that. They ask it every time, even if you've already told them. And so that's part of it. But the real value that you're providing is how you're going to take care of them, how you're going to help them have a stress-free journey from now until the wedding night, until they leave the venue, right? And so really it's how you're going to guide them to their end goal, that destination. And I'm not saying like list out every little single thing that you're going to do for them, but the big things, right? Hey, when you work with us, we have resources. We do this all the time. We know that this probably is probably the only time you've been married, maybe once or twice, right? It might be their second time, but either way, they're not professionals. We're the professionals. We know the industry. We know the vendors. We know we do this every weekend, multiple times a week if you're good, right? And so they're relying on you to help them because they don't know what they're doing. It's you you know what you're doing, and you know the contacts, and you can get them in touch with people. You're acting as a guide. You're guiding them to their goal. You're not the hero in this, you're the guide, right? And so the value that you're building is saying, hey, I'm going to help you get there. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be relatively stress-free. And we're going to get you there, and you don't have to worry about anything. And before you think that I'm talking about like all-inclusive packages and things like that, that's part of it. But really what I'm talking about is just being there for them to help them. So you're going to help them, and they're going to have a great time, right? So you're building this value, and this step number two, it's not just like one and done through the tour. You keep referencing it. Hey, this is why we take care of you. We have a preferred vendor list we give out to all of our book couples. It's got all of our favorite people. We've had them out. We're personally vetting them. We don't let anybody in that we know that will ruin your wedding. And so start here with this list because they're great. We work well with them. They do great work, and they're going to take care of you too. And so you're kind of like the captain of this team, and well, you're the head coach and the captain, and you're helping them pick their players, right? I know, terrible analogy, but anyways, you can kind of get what I'm saying. Like, you're there to help make sure the team comes together. And so there's the team for the couple that's like on their side of just getting everything ready and making sure that all the people that are invited, like all the invites go out and all that other stuff, like all that stuff is happening. But you're helping assemble the team of all the vendors who are all going to pull together and take care of them and help their day and their night and their time with their friends and their family be truly special and memorable. So that's step 2. Step 3, this is a big one, is staying on topic. Why are they at the tour? Why are they at your venue? It's not to talk about random things. And it's one thing in rapport building when they say, "Oh, I love this activity," and you happen to be a fan of that too, and you talk a little bit about that. That's not what I'm talking about. Like that's staying on topic. That's rapport building. But it's I've seen tours and heard tours where the manager starts drifting into random topics that have nothing to do with anything, unprompted, and it just kind of puts the couple off because it's like, why are we here? And a very, very common one that I see, it's not ill intention, it's not like you think that it fits, but what I've seen is a lot of managers and owners will start to drift into selling other vendors. So, oh, you got to try this caterer, or this DJ is the best, and here's their contact information, and blah, 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 blah. And so what happens is they come in to tour the venue, and now you're giving them referrals, and they're touring for these other vendors that it's not time for that yet. And so you have to keep the main thing, which, why are they there? They're there to tour the venue, and they're there to make a decision on booking their venue. So that's the main thing that you need to stay on topic with. So it's one thing to say, hey, we have a great list of preferred vendors, and we share that with every single couple that books with us, and we'll talk about that more after you book. But we have a great list, great team. They all come together for you, and we've helped curate that so that we know that you will have the best time of your life. So that's staying on topic. Then the last one, the most important step 4, is how to close. So closing isn't just getting to the end of the tour. You've talked about the laundry list of amenities that you have, and then you say, okay, well, if you have any more questions, just let me know. And then they say, okay, and they leave. And then they ghost you. And then you never hear from them. And then they book somewhere else. And then you lose the sale. And that is very, 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 very common. I can't say very enough, but it is quite common for that to be the close. And really, we got to ask them for the sale. And the number one pushback I get on this from other venue owners is, well, Kyle, I don't want to sound like a used car salesman. And I get that. You don't want to be like super aggressively pushy on this. However, think about this. They are there to make a decision. The data that we've collected over the past 3 years shows that couples are making a decision within 5 days of touring. 5 days, that's it. So from the moment they come out to tour, and typically they do a block, or they're doing 2 or 3 in a day, and then 2 or 3 the next day, and then within 4 or 5 days of that, they're making a decision. They are ready to purchase. And so the highest intent item or action that they can do to show that they're ready to buy is to do a tour. And so I need you to get that out of your head that they're not ready to book. No, they're ready. They're ready to book if they find the right place. And some may be ready. They might say, oh, we're ready in a month or 2. And those are the exception, not the norm. So now your next question might be, well, Kyle, how do I ask for the sale? And it's actually pretty easy. So think of it like this. When you're at the department store, you're at Banana Republic. I have no affiliation with them. I just pulled their name out of a hat. But let's just say you're at Banana Republic and you got a bunch of clothes in your hand and you're walking around, and then you start getting closer to the checkout counter. And as you get closer, the cashier says, hey, are you ready to check out? And you say, I am. So, was that question pushy? Were they trying to push you into something that you weren't ready for? Or was it more like a progress check, right? And if you had said, no, I'm not, I'm still looking, okay, well, let us know if you need any help finding anything, or can I make, whatever, right? Then they try to be helpful and this, that, and the other. And so you carrying the assortment of clothes or one item or the hanger or whatever it is that you have in your hand, you have something in your hand that signals to them. And so it's having the thing in your hand and making movement towards the cashier that signifies that you're ready to buy. And so that's the signal for the cashier at the department store. And our signal as a wedding venue owner or manager is when they come out to tour. They are ready to book. So that's the number one thing. If you take nothing else from this video, the number one thing to remember is that couples are ready to book by and large, and there are exceptions, of course, but couples are ready to book when they physically show up to your venue to do a tour. They're ready to buy. So keep that in mind when you come to the end of the tour, and then you ask if they're ready to buy. So you do that, and here's an example. So you might say something like, hey couple, it seems like this was a really great fit. You guys, like we seem to check all the boxes for you. We have your date available. Why don't we get it locked in today so you can move on with the rest of the plans, right? Nothing else can get planned until your venue's booked. Let's just get it booked, and then you can move on. You don't have to stress about this anymore. Yes or no? And if they say yes, great. Hey, you just got a booking, which is phenomenal. And if they say no, then you might ask a little more follow-up. Okay, hey, well, it seems like I missed the mark. Was there something that we might have not discussed that you're looking for? And hopefully you've already discussed this in the rapport building, in the value building. You've already discovered all this. Like, you need to discover all of these things that might be an objection later. You just need to find out the obstacle before it becomes an objection. And so hopefully you've already discovered it. But if you haven't, you need to find it, right? Because whatever it is, that's what you need to find so you can overcome it so they can say yes. And so that's where you say, oh, well, okay, is there anything that we're missing? And they might say, no, this was great. We love it. It's the top of our list. But we want to see one or two more. Gotta see them. And you know what my answer is to that? Totally. You should absolutely go see them. We understand that this is a big decision, that it's thousands of dollars, and you got to make the right choice. And then I back it up with, again, building that value, and I say something like, hey, we're going to take care of you. We really want this day to be truly special for you. And we don't forget that this is your one big day. We do this multiple times a week, but we don't lose sight that this is your day, that this is your one day. And we got to get it right, and that's our commitment to you. We're going to get it right. And so I leave them with that. And then we offer a date hold deposit, and so I'll go with that as a backup. And so I'll say, you know what, totally get that. When are those tours? Oh, they're this week, or they're tomorrow, or whatever. As long as it's within a week, you say, hey, here's what I can do. It seems like this is a really good fit. We're booking 10 to 15 bookings a month. And I would hate to have that date get booked by somebody else while you're still considering your options. And so what we do is a date hold deposit. It's $250. It holds the date for a week. And if you decide this isn't for you, then we refund it. So it's a win-win. And if you do decide to book, it's just part of your deposit. So it's not an extra cost. And then we get them on the date hold. So now that brings them back to us when it's time to make a decision. Instead of just ghosting us, they have to talk to us. And so we've only had maybe of the 60 to 100 date hold deposits that we've done since starting that, we've maybe had one or two that never got back to us about getting the money back, and one that was like 8 or 9 days after. We just give them their money back. It's not a big deal if they decide to move on to somewhere else. But it gives us one more chance to talk to them and to figure out if we can actually do what they need. And sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's location, sometimes it's aesthetics, sometimes it's overnight accommodations. I don't have overnight accommodations in my venue yet, but so I lose out on bookings that otherwise I could have gotten if I had had that. And that's not something that I can fix overnight. That's not a concern that I can just say, hey, that's not a concern. The best I can do is say, hey, we're only 10 minutes from a hotel. But now I got to figure out shuttles, and I got to figure out how to get there and this and coordinate all that, instead of just, I want to be at the venue. I want to have my own space. I want to be there and not have to drive anywhere afterwards, right? I get that. So there's just some things you can't overcome, but you got to figure out what they are and what their objections are, so you can determine if you can overcome it or not. And sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. But if you're not asking for the sale, then whenever I grade a tour on a scale, so I do a scale of 1 to 5, even if everything else was 5, so rapport building, value building, staying on topic, if all of those were perfect and you do not ask for the sale, you have failed the tour. It's a 0 out of 5 across the board. And so that's the number one, the most important thing that you can do. If you start doing that, you will get more bookings. So I hope that this has been helpful for you. I wanted to lay the foundation of the tour, like the components of the tour, so that in future videos, I'll refer back to that a lot. And that way you have a good understanding of what I'm talking about. And I'll probably explain it again in those videos anyways, but it'll be a smoother or a quicker synopsis. So anyways, I hope this was helpful for you. Hope you found some good nuggets in there. And if it was useful for you, just subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.